We're continuing the series. We've titled this series Redemption from Slavery, and we've been looking at different aspects of who God is through the book of Exodus, right? And one of the big themes, the question that God places before the people and also Pharaoh is to kind of reveal who he is. Pharaoh is asking, who is this Yahweh? And God goes about revealing who he is, not only to Pharaoh, not only to Israel, but to all of us, right? And so each week we are looking at different portions of Exodus, and we're looking at who God is, right? So we are in this section of the story where the children of Israel are in the wilderness, right? And they've been delivered from slavery. They've come out of through the Red Sea, and they are in the wilderness. Now, we've talked about this in a couple of Sundays. Wilderness is a place, and of course they are physically in a wilderness, but for us spiritually, wilderness is a place where everything we rely on for success, everything we rely on for our identity, everything we rely on for our reputation, everything we rely on for security, right? Everything we rely on for approval, what we treasure, all of those things, right? These things are apart from God. All of these things in the wilderness, it dries up. That's wilderness. And suddenly we stand exposed. Everything we built our lives around to give us that kind of stability and security and significance, suddenly in the wilderness dries up. And you begin to realize God is all you want when God is all you have. Right? And so that is what the wilderness does. It begins to expose what we truly treasure, what we truly love, what we've truly built our life upon. Right? And that's what the wilderness experiences. It exposes our slavery. It exposes our orphanness. It exposes our idolatry. It exposes our distorted reality. All of these things. We've talked about this in the last couple of Sundays. And for the children of Israel especially, the wilderness exposes their grumbling. And it's a besetting sin. It's a sin that is occurring again and again and again. It's a habitual sin. You see them murmuring again and again and again. It's repeated, right? Chapter 15, they grumble because there's no water. Chapter 16, they grumble because there's no food. In chapter 17, again they grumble. But each of these grumblings, we are beginning to learn something. Right? It's just grumbling, but we're beginning to learn some things from each chapter. And this morning, I've titled this sermon, God of Justice. God of Justice. The first thing we notice in this passage is this idea of testing God. Testing God. Right? Look at verse 1. It says, all the congregation of the people of Israel moved on from the wilderness of sin by stages, right? It's a wilderness of Sinai, wilderness of sin by stages, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore, the people quarreled with Moses and said, give us water to drink. And Moses said to them, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord? But the people thirsted there for water, and the people grumbled against Moses and said, why did you bring us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? We've seen this pattern again and again, right? Every time trouble comes, they grumble. Now, this is what the response should be, right? This is what, when they come into a place where there's no water, when there's no resources, when they come into a place like that, the right response needs to be, you know what, hey, we've seen God come through. We've seen God deliver us through the plagues from Egypt. We've seen God protect us even through the Red Sea. We've seen God turn the bitter waters of Marah into sweet. We've seen God lead us to Elim, a place of rest. We've seen God provide manna for us. We have seen how He has led us. He will continue to lead us. Let's wait on God. Let's depend on God. Let's trust Him. Let's see how God is going to come through in this situation. He has never let us down. This should have been the right response. And yet, every time they hit a wall, every time there is a trial, every time there is a test, When trouble comes, they grumble. We are no different. We are no different, right? In fact, here, there is a word that's repeated again and again, and that's the new kind of way we are understanding grumbling. The word is quarrel. It's quarrel, right? It's repeated 3 times. The word quarrel is a physical confrontation. It's a burning anger, right? They're really angry. Now, this is what they're saying in chapter 15. If you notice, chapter 15, God tests them. Right? God does something for them and God tests them. In chapter 16, again, God says, I want to test you, whether you will follow me or not. Right? God tests them. Chapter 17, this is what it says. Chapter 17, verse 2, it says, why do you test the Lord? This is what they're doing. They're saying, no, enough of God tests. Enough of God's tests for us. No. We don't want that. We want God to prove to us whether he loves us or not. We are going to test him. Right? We're going to test him. He has to prove his love for us. He has to prove if he really cares about us. It is not about us anymore. We are tired of all these tests. Now God has to prove his loyalty to us. Right? They test God. Right? They are testing God. Now, we do this too. We test God too. Now, if you think about it, there's only one place where God says, you can test me. Do you know what that is? You know where that is? Only one place. God says, hey, you can test me in this. Malachi 3:10. Right? We don't want to go there, right? We don't want to go there. You would like to test God? Test God in this. Malachi 3:10, God challenges the people. He says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out such blessing that there will be no room enough to store it. This is God telling, right? God saying, you can test me in this. Bring what your generosity and your tithes to me, and see if I will not bless it. And my young friends who are coming up in life, who are starting your careers, who are raising families, let me tell you, right? I'm married for 20 years, right? It's going to be 20 soon, next month. So I can say this, right? I've lived a little long, right? You can never outgive God. And some of our young people, you do not even understand what that is. You do not even understand what that is. I want you to experience. God invites you to test him. And I know people here who are extremely generous. And you can ask them. You can never outgive God. Nobody can come and say, well, God is my debtor. No chance. No chance. And sometimes we don't. We especially in Delhi, you are thinking about, how do I manage bills? How do I pay this? I don't have resources. And we're all struggling. But one thing God says is, by faith you come and you be generous towards me, and you test and see if I will not open the storehouses for you. And yet we don't want to go there. Right? We don't want to go there. When I came into ministry, this was back, right? This was back like 25 years back. When I finished my engineering in the U.S. and I was kind of calm. My friends, they're doing well. They're all in the U.S. People would constantly ask me, you made a big sacrifice. You made a big sacrifice. Let me tell you, and I understand what they say by that, right? I know what they mean. But let me tell you, right? My friend who's working in Google, my friend who started his own company, all of these guys, there is no way God has made me stand ashamed before them. No way. You tracking me? God is no man's debtor. There is no sacrifice we make that can top what he can do for you or what he has done for you. My young friend, I want you to tap into some of these things by faith, right? But we don't go there, but we test God in every other way. We test God. We keep telling God, I want you to prove to me that you love me. We test God when it comes to our job. We test God when it comes to our healing. We test God when it comes to answers. We keep telling, well, only if you answer me, then I will know you love me. Only if you heal me, then I will know you love me. Only if you give me a job, then I will know you love me. We keep testing God with our grumbling, And we've seen this. And why are they testing? Why do they test? We are not surprised by this, right? When we look at their story, we know Elim is around the corner. We know God is going to deliver them. When we're reading the story, we see that God is actually patient with them. You tracking me? That's the way we see this. We're able to see, man, God is extremely patient. But when you are in the story, when you are going through wilderness, it almost always feels like God is testing your patience. God is testing your. No, He's not testing. He's the one who's patient. He's the one who's patient. And now, every time we read and we step back and we see the patience of God. And yet, when we are in the wilderness, we feel like our patience is tested. And we want to test God. The reason why we test God is because we forget. We forget His faithfulness. We remember that one unanswered prayer. Right? We remember that one prayer that God didn't answer. We hold on to it, but we forget about the countless and infinite times God has answered our prayers. No, we forget all of that. Right? We remember those delays and those disappointments, but not the goodness of God that runs after us. We forget all the numerous times God has blessed us, but we remember that one bad thing that happened to us. Right? We forget. We have this spiritual amnesia. We are not able to remember. That's why God tells us, I want you to remember. I want you to remember. Make a memorial. Do something. Tattoo your body. Whatever needs to happen. Remember. Remember my goodness. Right? The last time, and this is true, in the wilderness, this is how we sense. The last time God answered our prayer feels like 10 years back, even though it was just yesterday. You tracking me? This is what the wilderness does to us. We forget. We forget. And the disappointment that happened 10 years back feels like it just happened yesterday. It is all topsy-turvy in the wilderness. We forget. We see the people testing God. Now, we see testing God. Secondly, when people are grumbling and they are testing, they deserved something from God. They deserved God to just abandon them, and yet God does not. We see the tenderness of God. Right? Look at verse 6. Verse 6, it says, "Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people will drink." And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. They deserved judgment. They deserved rejection. They deserved God to just let them die and leave them for murmuring again and again. And yet, God lavishes His grace upon them. You see His grace through His patience. You see His grace through provision that they did not deserve. You see His grace through protection. You see all of His lavish grace. For 40 years, God provides for them. God is with them. God is walking with them. God is leading them. You see His infinite patience, His immeasurable provision, His instant protection. You begin to see grace in the most unlikely places. Water is from a rock. Where does water come from? How does water come from a rock in the middle of a wilderness? And yet, God provides His grace in the most unlikely places. When you most feel like it is not going to happen, when you feel like nothing is going to come out of this, and yet God shows up and gives you His grace. Hasn't that happened for us? Hasn't that happened for you? God makes it happen. God continues to show His tenderness. He carries us as a shepherd carries his sheep. He carries us like an eagle that carries its young, like a father who carries the child, like a mother who cares and nurses for the baby. God carries us. God comforts us. God provides for us. God protects us. You see people testing God. In response, you see the tenderness of God. But I want to focus on, thirdly, lastly, the trial of God. Why is this different? We keep talking about grumbling here. Grumbling, they're again and again grumbling. But what is this? What's actually happening here? What's the significance here? We see the trial of God. Look at verse 2. Verse 2. Therefore the people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." And Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me?" So Moses cried to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me." Now, what's going on here? Right? Why are they ready to stone him? The word quarrel, like I said, it is kind of a confrontation. Right? They're quarreling with Moses. The meaning there is they are bringing a charge against Moses. They are bringing a formal charge. They are bringing a legal action against Moses. They are blaming Moses for criminal negligence. This is what's happening. They are ready to stone him. They're ready to kill him. They're saying, "Moses, you have brought us to the wilderness to kill us and our families and our children. You are criminally liable for all that's happening here. We are going to judge you. We are going to stone you." It's a legal proceeding, right? It's a legal action that's being taken. But we begin to see they are not charging Moses, but they are actually charging God of criminal negligence. God is on trial. God is on trial. Look at verse 5. It says, "And the Lord said to Moses, pass on before the people." You remember the word? Pass? You know what happened when somebody passed over in Egypt? It's pointing back to the judgment, right? Pass on before the people, taking with you some of the elders of Israel. The elders of Israel are the witnesses here, right? Taking with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff. Oh, they know what happens when Moses holds the staff, right? With which you struck the Nile. Again, a symbol of judgment. Pass on before the people, take the staff. All of these are pointing to the judgment of God. Okay? People are grumbling, and they're ready to stone Moses. They're here to charge Moses. And God says, well, if you want a trial, let's have a trial. You want a trial? Let's have a trial. And people are ready to stone Moses. And I want you to think of this. It's very dramatic. It's only 7 verses, but I want you to just go into the story and kind of think about this. They're ready to stone Moses, but Moses comes out of his tent with the staff and the elders. They're going to charge Moses, but Moses is not charged. He is the one who's going to pronounce the judgment here. He's coming with the elders as his witnesses. So Moses is not on trial. Well, Moses is probably thinking, well, this is it. This is it for the people. This is it. This is the end for all these people. He's coming out, he's walking with the staff, but God tells him, I want you to pass before the people. Pass them. Right? Imagine you're standing there and you're ready to stone him, and he's coming with the staff. Right? People would have been fainting because they remember what can happen when Moses lifts that staff. They know this is a sign of judgment now. Right? They are probably trembling. They are probably fainting at this moment. But Moses is passing through the people. Right? So Moses is not on trial. Well, are the people on trial? No, the people are not on trial. Who's on trial? God is on trial. God is on trial. Look at verse 6. It says, behold, I will stand before you. It's the language of standing before those who are accusing him. Right? When it's a king, it's always said the commoner or the vassal stands before the king. Why? The king is the superior, the vassal is the inferior, right? You don't say the king stands before the people, right? You don't do that. But here, look at what it says. Behold, I, Yahweh, he says, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb. Horeb is the place where God revealed himself through the burning bush, right? They're in the same place. God says, I will stand before you there on the rock of Horeb. You shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people will drink. What's happening here? And Moses did so in the sight of the elders, right? It's a judicial, it's a legal kind of an action that's happening. Elders are coming. They are like the jury. They are like the witnesses for the judgment that's going to happen. Moses thought he was going to be judged. He was spared. People thought they were going to be judged. No. Oh, the judgment passed them. And God says, I will stand on the rock. And you strike the rock. What's happening there? What's happening there? God is telling, I will take the stroke of justice so that you can be spared. This is what's happening. We're getting a glimpse of something. There's a German play called The Sign of Jonah, right? It's by Gunther Rutenborn, right? It's a German play. This happened in, the play is kind of situated right after World War II. Right after World War II, people are struggling. The city is in ruins, this play became very popular, right? And this play is on the backdrop of all the destruction that's happening, the war and the death and all of these things. And the play is basically trying to find reasons to blame somebody. Who is at fault for this war? Who is at fault for all the killings, the innocent people who died? Who is at fault for this calamity? They want to blame somebody, right? So in the play, the people begin to blame some of the officers. They say these are the people, and they are the reason why all of this happened. And when they ask the officers blame some of the senior officers. They say, no, this is not us. It is the senior people who ordered us. So through the play, everybody seems to be blaming somebody else for what happened. Everybody is blaming somebody else. They blame the weapons manufacturers. Some blame Hitler. Everybody is blaming somebody else for the calamity and the war and the deaths of innocent people. But then there's one person who shouts in the play, right? It's happening in the play. One person shouts, and he says, do you want to know who is to really blame for the suffering we have been through? He says, I'll tell you. God is to blame. He created this world. He placed all of this power in such unworthy hands. He allowed all of this to happen. He is to blame. At first, everyone's taken aback, right? They're kind of surprised by this, but then gradually the chorus begins. It picks up. Yes, God is to blame. God is to blame. God is to blame for all the misfortunes in this world. God is to blame for all my disappointments. God is to blame for all my pain. God is to blame for all the wars. God is to blame for all the deaths. God is to blame. And as the chorus goes up, we begin to understand, even as you kind of hear the story, you begin to understand, we are exactly the same. We are exactly the same. Who is to blame for the wars? Who is to blame for the injustice? Who is to blame for the killings? Who is to blame for the poverty? When we face tremendous evil and suffering in this world, but at least personal disappointment, at least you can kind of manage a little bit. But when you think of just existential evil and suffering in this world, when you think of things that you cannot even imagine, when you think of those things that you are helpless and powerless, who is to blame for all of the suffering? Who is to blame? And we want to assign blame on the ultimate person. We don't want to keep blaming each other. Ultimately, when you trace the blame, you want to say, I want to blame God. He is the one who created this world. He is the one who allowed suffering in this world. He is to be blamed. He is to be tried. And in the play, they pronounce a judgment, right? The judge pronounces the sentence. And this is the sentence. The crime is so severe that it demands the worst possible sentence, right? They are blaming God. They are trying God. And they're saying he needs to have the worst possible sentence. I hereby sentence God to live on this earth as a human being, so that he will know what it is to be poor and obscure. He will be born in a ghetto. a place that is poor, there is no resources, no food, no opportunities as an outcast. There he will know what shame is about his birth. And he knows what it is to fail and suffer disappointment. No one will understand what he is trying to do. And he will be cursed and humiliated. He will suffer physical pain. He will die the most painful and humiliating death imaginable. Where does this happen? Where does this happen? My friend, in Exodus 17, you get a glimpse of it. You get a glimpse of a God on trial. He says, I will take the blow of justice. Not because I deserve it. Not because I did something wrong. I will take the blow of justice. And we begin to see that's what happens on the cross. On the cross, God comes down and takes the ultimate blow of justice. Not because he sinned. Not because he is to be blamed. My friend, all the wars, all the suffering, all the evil, all the poverty, everything that we want to blame on God, it is not his fault. It is because of our sin. It is because of our selfishness. It is because of our rebellion. And yet when we want justice for the oppression, we want justice for the wicked, we want justice for the unjust, we want justice over government and nations and dictators. But how are we different? How are we different? We are just the same. We are part of the system. Because in the play, everybody blames somebody else. Right? Everybody is blaming somebody else. Everybody is saying, no, I'm not at fault. This person or that person. Everybody blames somebody else. No, but everybody is to blame for this. And just like that, my friend, in this world, as much as we want to blame God for the suffering and evil, no, he is not the author of suffering and evil. When he designed the world, it was good and perfect. And yet because of our sin and our rebellion, we fight with each other. Think about this. Instead of blaming somebody else, we are to blame. We ignore the poor every day. We walk past the needy every day. We lie to get ahead. We spend on ourselves. We don't care about the hungry. How are we different? And as much as we want judgment to fall on everybody else, when judgment comes, it is not just on a select few that it's going to fall. It is going to fall on all of us. All of us. My friend, I want you to understand this. If there is no judge, there is no hope for the world. What is hope? Where is the hope for wickedness and evil and injustice? If there is no judge, if there is no divine judge, there is no hope for the world. But if there is a judge, there is no hope for you and me. Don't think we will be exempt. Don't think Hitler and we'll be fine. No. That's not how it's going to work. There is no hope for us. And so, my friend, how can you want judgment and yet somehow receive the mercy of God? On the cross, Jesus took the stroke of divine judgment that was to fall on us. 1 Corinthians 10:4 says, and all drank from the same spiritual drink. Right? It's referring to Exodus 17. All drank. 1 Corinthians 10:4. All drank from the same spiritual drink. For they drank from the spiritual rock that followed them. And the rock was Christ. The rock was Christ. Exodus 17 is a glimpse of what Jesus is going to do on the cross. My friend, even as we process this, what does this mean for you? And I want to gently encourage you. In your wilderness experience, you will be tempted to grumble and test God. You will be tempted to blame him for all the misfortunes in your life. You will be tempted to blame him for all the suffering and trial you will face. And I want to gently encourage you. Scripture warns us again and again. We see this repeated again and again. The same passage in 1 Corinthians, in Hebrews, in Psalms, in Numbers 20. It keeps repeating again and again. And God says, do not test me. Do not test me in your grumbling. Right? So I want to gently encourage you. Trust him. Trust him through this process. Let not your grumbling lead to testing. But in a macro sense, I want to invite you, even as we struggle with some of the things in this world, we cannot explain the wars in this world. We cannot explain the injustice in this world. We cannot explain the poverty in this world. We cannot explain the wickedness and sin in this world. And oftentimes we want to blame God. We want to blame Him for all that's happening. And yet in the Bible, God takes the blame. God takes the blame. You want to assign ultimate blame on God, and yet in the Bible, God doesn't unleash on you. God doesn't get angry with you. He takes the blame. So the question for you, my friend, even as you're wrestling with evil and suffering in this world, the question for you is, what more do you want? What more do you want? You want to assign ultimate blame on Him, and you want Him to be judged, and yet He was judged on the cross. Not for his sin, not for His wickedness, for each one of us. What more do you want? What more is going to satisfy your need for justice? Why would you stay away from God because of the evil and suffering in this world when the very God you're blaming stands trial? So my friend, today I want to just gently encourage you. Do not let the suffering and the pain and the evil in this world that we are not able to explain keep you away from this loving Father. We see a God of justice by taking the divine blow upon Himself. He is the one who is just and the justifier of the sinner. So one day when judgment does come upon the wicked, God will cover us with His mercy because of what Jesus has done. Let's pray.